Hey guys, I am back, ready to attack. But anyway, so guys, you guys are gonna enjoy this vlog. Hope you guys enjoy it. See you guys soon after the video. Hey guys, I'm back with another video. Yes. You may hear it from the intro. I'm gonna put it in because I'm barely able to talk right now. Because my throat does hurt a little bit. Could be because of the convention that I had, but I had a really good time. I want to say thank you to Tyler when he sees this, hopefully. Thank you for taking the pictures. Sorry guys I didn't do much videos this year. It's just because there's a lot of rules of filming and stuff. But I did take pictures, so it should help. So yeah, other than that, I hope you guys enjoy this amazing vlog. This is also for Courtney as well. I'm sorry, Courtney, that you could come this year, but I did get some stuff for you. And, yeah, other than that, I hope you guys enjoy this vlog, alright? Love you guys so much, even though I'm losing my voice. Still going strong on my YouTube grind for you guys. Love you guys so much. I'll see you guys soon.
Jacob, buddy, he's one of a kind, but he's got a strange habit you won't mind. He's got a soft spot for cats, oh it's true, but he's working on it, he's got things to do. He's punching cats, but he's getting better, practicing hard like a go-getter. Oh Jacob, you're one of the best, even though your hobbies are a little obsessed.
He doesn't mean harm, he's a stand-up guy, with a punch here and there and a twinkle in his eye. The cats are confused, but they'll understand. Jacob's just learning, it's all been planned.
He's punching cats, but he's getting better, practicing hard like a trendsetter. Oh Jacob, you're cool as can be, even when cats think they're under attack. You see, but deep down he's got a heart of gold. He'll get there someday, his story will be told. A buddy like Jacob through thick and thin, even with the cats he's sure to win. He's punching cats, but he's getting better, practicing hard, he's bound to be clever. Oh Jacob, our awesome friend with time and patience, this work will mend.
That's good. I was going to ask you right off the hop, because I sent the link to a few friends of mine who are also former Rangers. But did you see that there was a massive auction that happened a few weeks ago? Do you know of this? The Power Ranger, like someone like cleared out the Power Ranger warehouses and it all went for sale to like people on the internet. Like almost the whole stockpile of stuff. Did you see that?
I did. It's funny because they want to fly me to Dallas in 2 days to help promote that event. So I am aware of it, and it kind of shocked me, So it's funny. Power Rangers. It was one of those shows that was created, and then the success of it kept building and building, and I think nobody expected to continue to build and build and build. And these things have been, I guess, in a warehouse or sitting there, and there's so much they can do with it. So I guess this is what they're doing, and it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was I know some friends of mine that are massive, Power Ranger fans, and they were kind of like sad. They're like, oh, what are they gonna? Why? I thought they're gonna like open a museum or do whatever. But I mean, I guess if you are a fan and you've got a lot of money and you want to buy some original Power Ranger stuff, I mean, hey, did you ever take anything from set? Do you have any original pieces from the show? But I feel like in that era they were like really tight about all that stuff.
Yeah, Jason David Frank just took whatever he wanted, so he kind of controlled that. And after he had left, they just said, hey, when you leave, just don't do anything. Don't let's not have a problem. So we all played by the rules. But we didn't think anything of it. It was one of those scenarios we didn't think it would be. Why would you take it? Why would you have it? They gave me my morpher that I use on the show. You know, my civilian attire, as they called it. But the helmets, the suits, and they had a bunch of them. It's kind of funny not to, you know, I think if you play for a sports team, they'll give you a helmet and an outfit, but they never did, but we never were disgruntled in any way. And now, of course, looking back, it's like, oh, that would have been great to have, you know.
Yeah, as you're watching the bids go up, you're like, that would have been really great to have.
Yeah, I wonder, does anyone know what the bids are at? I know it's open till the 18th.
Yeah, I don't know if you know, but anyway, it's on. I'm not trying to promote this auction or anything, but you can, yeah, I looked for a few key items, and there's some stuff missing, so I don't know. But I do know, like, you know, walking into, like, you know, Planet Hollywood restaurants over the years, you do see the odd. I think the Planet Hollywood in, like, London, England, there's a Red Ranger suit in there or something like that. But yeah, I mean, some of the memorabilia has been around. A lot of the foam doesn't last. Like, I think a lot of the villain characters have melted away over the years.
Yeah, they do.
The original Goldar not looking so hot right now. It's all crumpled up, but yeah, very cool to see this stuff. Well, just to see all this stuff, to see the library of stuff. Now, did you go back and did you kind of, like, speaking of library, did you kind of maybe catch up on, like, the Mighty Morphin era before you stepped into this, or what was your prep like before you took on the role?
Well, you know, when I got the role, I was actually older than the rest of the cast. I was 27. So I had, when Power Rangers started, I was already in college. So I was very familiar with the franchise, but wasn't very familiar with the specifics of the show. They had me come in and audition 3 different times. Yeah, so I read for Galaxy, I read for Lightspeed Rescue, and then eventually Time Force came through. So I was very familiar with the show. Once I booked it, I did go back and go through the, you know, kind of the older series just to kind of get a feel for, you know, the pacing of the show and what it was. But I didn't want to watch too much. I remember I watched 2 episodes of each series because I didn't want to do anything that the other Ranger had done. So I figured if I came in just being me, that's the most original piece I could do. Once you see other actors kind of play Red Ranger or something that you're kind of taking the same role over, you know, I have a tendency to see things that they've done and want to go away from it. So I figured don't see too much so I can just be me. That was kind of my thought.
Yeah, and it's cool to see, you know, the community around Power Rangers. Now, actually, by the way, if you guys, speaking of community, have questions, we have some audience mics, or I guess just a few of you if you want to maybe line up at this one, or we can use all of them if you really want. But yeah, you can start lining up at the mics. But yeah, speaking of you know, community, it's cool to see, you know, all the alumni of Power Rangers, you know, getting together at these cons. And I know even like Amy Jo Johnson's working with the comic now, and she's contributing to that and breathing new life into the Power Rangers through a comic medium. But do you guys, you know, keep in touch? Do you guys do you have like a group chat, a Ranger group chat that you you know, message into? Yeah, we it's funny because through different shows you'll be with different Rangers. So, you know, last week I was in Rhode Island. You know, there's a handful of us there. The week before we were at New York Comic Con, and there's 8 of us there. So each event, there might be certain Rangers that are there for different seasons, and as a result, you start to establish friendships with a lot of different seasons. So, and since I do so many conventions, because I love doing this, I've been fortunate to kind of be in the center of that world of kind of knowing everybody. So when anything happens, a lot of stuff will go through me in terms of what's going on. But yeah, we stay very close. It's definitely a fraternity of sorts. Of guys and girls, and we're really close, yeah. And I guess meeting people that you would never have worked with, but also you have something in common with. So then you form, I guess, friendships with, and go out for dinner after and commiserate about how tight the suit was. And
well, it's a very unique franchise. I don't think there's anything like it because it's been going for 30 years now, and there's no other show out there that you can be a kid, watch a show, grow up, be an adult, have a kid, and then still watch the same show with your season and their season with equal interest, right? So when we grew up, you know, my parents would watch, you know, black and white different shows, and we would never be caught dead doing it because that's how we were. But now, I have adults coming in, and their kids know much about my series at 5 years old as they do the current one because they're flip-flopping them. So it's a very unique, you know, scenario. And then as a result of the you know, the fan base being so large, but we're not, you know, we're not the Avengers, so you also have the ability to get close to us. So there's this friendship that begins, and you start to meet people, and then you come back in a couple years and you meet them again. some of these shows I've been to, 8, 9 times, and these kids have said, look at that, this was, let's say, years ago, and every year they're coming back and meeting, and real friendships become established, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, let's get to some audience questions. We've got a few lined up at the mic, so let's start right in the middle. Go ahead. What is your question for Jason?
Hi, Jason. Thank you for coming to Halifax. We're very happy to have you here.
For having me.
So I'm very much an OG Power Rangers fan. Regrettably, I lost interest as I grew older. But I did check in to watch, 20 years later, to watch Forever Red. And you were there, and there were a lot of other Red Rangers from previous seasons, previous incarnations there, old and new. And I'm just wondering if there were any egos on the set, or if you all got along. I mean, you mentioned that you were all like a fraternity. Did everyone just gel, and did the chemistry just work?
I thought exactly what you did. When we went, I thought this is not going to work at all. It's a bunch of alpha males in a room and limited screen time. But it worked perfectly. And a lot of great friendships established from that. Everybody had a great time. We've been talking about doing some sort of a Red Ranger tour that we go around to do it. But everybody got along very well. ADF, and that's kind of where our friendship began, is way back then. So yeah. And I wish they would do more of those. I mean, that was kind of, at the time, again, they didn't realize the success of that show. And I think over the years, they started to, and I know this for a fact, they created the show thinking that kids would watch it, and then at a certain age, they would time out, they would move on to other things, and then suddenly they realized that, wow, people are staying with this. They know who Wes Collins is from Time Force in their 20s, and I don't think they ever anticipated that. So now I think they're leaning more into more of the older generations, the legendary Rangers, as we call it, not old, to kind of reestablish themselves back in, and that's kind of where they are now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question.
I guess they kind of tested the waters recently because they went back to the Mighty Morphin era with the Netflix like special that they did, and I feel like it was well received. So maybe they opened their eyes to like let's bring some stuff back.
Yeah, that's what they did, and that was kind of, I've had meetings with Hasbro, and they're saying, hey, kids are watching Avengers now. That these are movies that are zillions of dollars to make, and the special effects. So they're trying to figure out which lane to go down. And so I think they're going to try and find a hybrid of being a little bit more mature, keeping the kids element with it, but hopefully involving, bringing Legendary Rangers back every year because people like that. And I think that's what they did. They would go to events, and you can go to a Power Morphicon, like an amusement park, and you can see, if you've been, it's tens of thousands of Power Ranger fans, and you can see which lines are longer. Like an amusement park, you can go, which rides are more popular, and you can see that. And I think that they've started to notice that. That was what they did, and it did do well, and so we'll see what happens, yeah.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Okay, let's go over to the other mic now. Go ahead. What is your question over there?
Hi.
Hey, buddy.
As most people are familiar, Power Rangers based on the Japanese show Super Sentai. I'm curious if you've ever been curious about the season that Time Force is based on, Time Ranger, and if you've checked it out and kind of compared how similar or different it was, and if you had any interest in that.
Yeah, so the Sentai stuff is a lot more serious, right? People die, people bleed, right? That whole thing happens there. I believe the Quantum Ranger did die in Sentai, right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, right?
I haven't watched it myself.
Yeah, so
yes.
Right? So is it?
Yes, he did.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So again, very familiar with it. The problem I had with that again is now you've got a guy that's playing Wes Collins in the Japanese series. So that I really pushed against watching because I did not want to see anything this guy did. So they would often replay some of the scenes because it would kind of block out what we were doing. We're going to come in through the stage doors, you're going to jump up on stage, and then we're going to sit here. So they would kind of play it for us to kind of show us how we would be filming, because we'd have to reshoot a lot of the stuff they were doing. But again, what this guy Wes Collins did he sit like this, right? Did he laugh at this point? Did he bang his fist on the table? So I didn't want to see anything because that would kind of affect my choice as an actor. So they'd always want us to watch certain things, and I'm like, no, I'm not watching what he does. If he laughs here, I'm not going to laugh. If he's angry here, I don't want to be angry. So familiar with it. I do love that they have a more mature feel to it. That's the one thing I do like. Did watch some of it, but not a ton. And I've never met him. Everyone always wonders if we've met them, and no, I haven't met the guy that played the same role. Love to. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool, thanks so much. All right, back to the middle. Go ahead, what's your question?
I was surprised that Wes and Jen didn't end up together at the end of the series. Do you know why they didn't end up together? And was there any talk about having that conclude maybe in the Wild Force team up?
There was a huge point of contention, the Wes and Jen, because you guys are great questions, guys. So the whole point of Time Force was that you can choose your own destiny. You can forge your own path, right? We make our own decisions. We are where we are because of the decisions we make. So what they do call that in screenwriting is a setup and a payoff, right? We set it up to pay it off later. Well, the whole point of that series was you choose your path, you choose your destiny, and in the end, she left, right? So the writers and the producers had some really tough conversations about, the producers wanted her to go, the writers wanted her to stay. And ultimately they decided that, there's always happy endings in these shows. It's a kid's show. At the end of it, they always just, they come back and, they're together, happily ever after. And they thought, well, let's do this differently. So if you haven't seen Power Rangers Time Force, spoiler alert, cover your ears, they don't end up together, which is very atypical of a lot of these kind of shows. So that was a huge point of contention. They did argue a lot about that. It actually fractured some relationships with that. But yeah, they almost had to go either way.
Cool.
Follow up, did they ever mention it in Wild Force at the team up? Because you guys were you seemed to be, I thought in the first part of that part aired, it might kind of continue it, but it didn't.
Yeah, it seems like they kind of alluded to the fact that they were back, or but no, she never came back. Now, Sins of the Future, if you guys seen the comic book Sins of the Future, I have, when I go back out to the tables, which I'm on the vendor floor today.
Vendor floor, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll be out there. I have 5 of them left. That is the continuation of Time Force. So that starts where Time Force ends, and it kind of shows how they create a different dimension where they can, I guess like a hookup cabin, I guess what you call it. But they create a different dimension where they're able to come and see each other, and that's kind of what they did. But like Back to the Future, if you go back, it affects everything, so they really could never fall in love,
No.
Kind of a tragic ending, but it's interesting. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's go over to the side again. What is your question? Go ahead.
So when you were Wes Collins, what was your favorite combat move that you did in your Ranger suit?
I think that was the Battle Warrior. That was probably the one that was pretty cool. The armor had that gold on it. Everybody seems to like it. My gosh, that action figure has gotten expensive. Even I bought it on eBay the other day for $350.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have one of them. So I was eBaying myself. I was bored in some town, and I was like, oh my God, there's all this stuff here for sale. So I didn't have that action figure, so I actually bought one of those. But probably the Battle Warrior was the. It was called the Battle Warrior, right? The Battle. Yeah. But that was the one from the night one. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of suit, I saw you did a photo op yesterday in the suit, man. Hey, there you go. Is it like the fact that you can still fit in a suit, still keeping fit? Hey, man, good job.
Thank you. Well, it's funny because that suit was a remake.
It's tough to fit into the old there's all of these guys that in that time you're in your prime, and then there's a pressure to be like, man, if the suit still fits, then hey.
Well, the truth is I'm more muscular now than I was. So I had it remade, and then it ripped because
You got ripped.
I've got bigger than I was then. So, but the one that I wore yesterday was a remake from these guys in Paris that do a whole different thing. So it's kind of a different, enhanced take on it, which is pretty cool. It wasn't the original one, but yeah, they haven't made. In Anarchy, there's places that make exact duplicates of the suit and the helmet, spitting image of the ones that we had on set. So there are ways you can. It's a lot of money, but you can have the suit remade now pretty well.
Yeah, and talking about the merch and stuff. Do you own a lot of the Power Rangers merch? There's a lot out there. There's a lot of memorabilia and things like that. How much of that do you own, or do you draw a line? Do you have a shrine of yourself in your living room? What's the situation, Jason?
I do have a shrine of myself in my office.
Okay.
But I tell you what, I grew up collecting action figures. I was a big Star Wars fan. And so to have your own action figure was one of the coolest things that I've ever had happen. And I still remember the first time I went to Target and saw it. and which is a funny story the way that it played out. And I'll tell you if we have time. But to have an action figure was something that was so cool to me. And so over the years, there's been different iterations of the. I love the word iteration. I'm going to use that again later today. So there's been different iterations of the character over the years. Have this up, and my wife's like, our home is luckily big enough, and I have an office there, and I kind of have the things on the walls with the different Resident Evil stuff and different Power Ranger stuff. And as new figures come out, I've got the movie poster Forever Red, and I have one thing that JDF signed for me that I keep up for him, and so yeah, I have a thing on the wall with some of the different stuff over the years. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, let's go back to the middle microphone. Go ahead.
I'm wondering, do your kids think it's cool that you're a Power Ranger, or do they not care?
They do now. I think growing up, what I've always been told is that I'm still dad. So as much as I try and tell them I'm a big deal, which I always joke about, never was. But they loved all the girls. They loved all the girl Rangers, and that was cool meeting all them. But then their friends started to think it was cool, and then their Instagram following became in the thousands. And then their teachers wanted to take pictures. And then they're like, well, maybe the old man's not so bad. So I think they enjoy it now. But I think with kids, you're always dad, but I think they think it's cool because when we're somewhere and we see like a Jason Momoa, we know him, and they get a picture with him. And they were like, oh, I'm like, hey Jay, my kids are, Ian Somerhalder, like we're somewhere and they can meet some of these people, which is cool to them. So I think they think it's pretty cool now, but good question, yeah.
Cool, thank you. And speaking of film, it's always interesting getting everyone's take on the most recent iteration of the Power Rangers movie that came out, I guess, I don't know how many years ago now, almost a decade ago, where they redesigned the suits, they tried to change it all up. Did you see the film?
Yeah.
What was your take on all that? Because I know JDF did appear, Amy did a little cameo.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it was interesting, and I think that film was actually supposed to launch another movie, and there was tease of a Green Ranger and things, and now I heard the rumor is that they're going to maybe redo it again altogether. But what was your take on that film?
I liked it. I'm usually a little more critical of anybody that's doing the Red Ranger thing, but I thought they did a great job. I think it took a while to get into the fighting, which I think was the critique of it. But I thought it was cool they were making a film. I've heard there were supposed to be multiple ones. I guess it didn't do as well as they thought it would do. And Power Rangers is very unique. It's like you're trying to touch upon a fan base that knows what it wants, but then they're trying to create mass appeal with star names, and I don't think they found the hybrid yet. I mean, I think the one that Netflix did really well. So I thought it was good, and I hope they continue to do it, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the Netflix was more back to the roots, and the film to me was like there was a fine line between Optimus Prime and the Megazord in that one. You're like, what are we looking at here? It was like they took a lot of notes from the Transformers franchise on that, but
the little emblem felt Iron Man-ish, and I think
it did too. Yeah.
Everybody win, because that's when like the Iron Man thing was becoming big, and I was like, that's an Iron Man emblem, like in the middle, like so. I think that threw things.
They took a lot, I think, from what was working, and then even the fact that it was like an energy, like an Iron Man thing. Yeah, I think people would have appreciated it being a little more to the roots. So maybe we'll figure it out eventually. But let's go back to the audience. Go ahead. What is your question?
Her question is, what made you get into acting?
It's a good story. You said her question, right there. How are you?
Okay.
So here's my acting story, and I love these questions because there's a story there. So what made me get into acting was Tom Cruise in Risky Business. That's the story. So I was a sophomore in high school. I had gotten flu or pneumonia. You get sick, throwing up and staying home from school. So back then, my mom and stepdad both worked, and so they went to Blockbuster Video and rented me, a bunch of movies, just occupying me while I was home. And during that 2 hours of watching Risky Business, it's almost like sick was just gone. I enjoyed it so much. And I went, this looks like fun. And I grew up outside of Chicago. That movie took place in a Chicago suburb. So I just thought, this looks like fun. And it just, for those 2 hours, I was a complete escape. I thought, someday I want to do this. Someday I'm going to figure out how to do this. I'm not an actor. I've never done drama at that point. And so I knew at that point that eventually that I would just hightail to Hollywood and try and figure it out. But it was Tom Cruise and Risky Business. Yeah.
was literally just talking about that because someone was going to do it for Halloween, and there's like a Mandela effect about that movie. People think that he does the slide with the sunglasses on, and when they do the costume, and I believe in the real scene, he doesn't even wear the glasses, and it's like, it's not what you think it is. Like, if you have a memory of that Tom Cruise Risky Business slide, and then go watch the clip on YouTube, it's like, you're like, what? Yeah, Mandela effect. It's crazy.
He didn't have the glasses on?
I don't believe he had the glasses on. No, someone can find it on their phone right now, but I don't think he had the glasses on. I believe the outfit was different than what people remember, but yeah, it's weird. It's weird how that happens. It's like, have they gone back and deleted history?
Yeah.
I don't know. Go ahead, what's your question?
Was it difficult playing two different characters in the same show? And do you suppose, why do you suppose Jen and Alex were together in the first place? Because when we do see them interact after he comes back, they don't seem to be getting along at all. So was there anyone ever talking about what is the foundation of their relationship?
Again, great question. So what happened behind the scenes during the filming is that we started filming it, and then there was a pending writer's strike that was going to happen. And as a result of this writer's strike, we had to rush filming Time Force. Because if a writer's strike lasted 1, 6, 8, well, who knows, right? A lot of these guys, Michael and Aaron, they're all 18, 19 years old. And if a strike ran for a year or something, they're going to start to look older, right? So they rushed our series. We had to get it going, we had to finish it. We were working 6 days, 12-hour days. Like, they had to get this thing in the can before that alleged strike date. Having said that, I think it kind of took away a little of the character development of something like an Alex, right? Something had to give, and we kind of had to rush some things. So I don't know if that was fleshed out as well as it would have or could have been had we had a little more time and it wasn't so rushed. And that's really what happened. Alex came in. They wanted to have that conflict between him and Wes. They wanted to have that. And he still saved Wes's father's life, so they tried to redeem some things in him. He still let them go back in time. He's watching his fiance fall in love with someone else. So I think with the kids' show and the time that they had, they tried to do as much as they can. And there's definitely a deeper story that could have been told there with Alex. But in terms of playing two characters, that was a lot of fun. Some people didn't know. They grew up thinking it was just two people. And that was cool part of the audition process. Is when they first started auditioning for Power Rangers back in the day, it was you have 30 seconds on the stage, let me see you kick and flip and dance or whatever. When it came to us, they were hiring actors. So it was a 6-page audition. They didn't care if I could kick or punch. That was all secondary. It was all about the acting for our season. So they had me come in and read as Wes. So they knew who was going to read for the character. They said, okay, come in. You're going to do the 6-page audition as Wes, and then we want you to leave the room, take a minute, and then come back and do the same audition as Alex. And they wanted to see your mannerisms, the way your voice inflection, the way you sit. Alex would never sit like this, right? Wes does. So, and that was kind of how they did it, and it was fun to play different two roles that had a lot of different mannerisms in terms of how the two characters would talk or walk or sit. Yeah.
Confirm, no glasses, by the way.
No glasses.
Now you know. Don't do the Risky Business costume, just the glasses. Okay, over to you. I think it'd be our last band question, and then I want to hear the toy story as well.
Okay.
Not the Toy Story. Yeah. Different Toy Story. Okay, go ahead.
So you had mentioned having read or watched previous series before Time Force, and I'm just wondering if there's anything outside of Time Force that you became a fan of?
From different seasons?
Well, for different seasons or even other projects.
But Power Rangers based,
Well,
right?
Power Rangers based,
yeah. I don't know. I think Mighty Morphin, when you go back, it's definitely the vibe of the show has evolved from Time Force to Mighty Morphin. But I would say the beginning, because I always tip my hat to those guys. They kind of, I kind of liken it to, older NFL players. They came in, the show was starting, minimal dollars. The set didn't have the same amenities that it did when we got there. So those guys really kind of built the franchise. So I always kind of tip my hat to that. You can see the way the show has evolved between the 9 seasons, but I'll always tip my hat in every way to Mighty Morphin. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. And then the story, you talk about seeing your action figure for that. What's the story there?
Yeah, so the funny thing was is that I went to Target and they said, hey, the action figures came out. we don't have them to give to you yet. They haven't come to us. So just, I'm gonna be out there. We brought a bunch of stuff, so definitely come by if you have more questions. I'm there. We have a ton of merchandise at the table. I'm not hiding upstairs or downstairs.
Yeah, we're done. You're up the vendor floor, yeah.
No, I'm on the vendor floor, where that is.
I don't know where we are.
I don't know where we are. But I'll be out there, so if you have any more questions, come on by. I'll be there all day, and I look forward to meeting you guys.
All right, Jason Fun, everybody.
Thank you.
Hey guys, hey guys, it's the end of the vlog. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, loved it, whatever, and, yeah, I hope you guys loved it, enjoyed it, and, yeah, other than that, I will see you guys in my next YouTube vlog, or my next YouTube video, alright? See you guys later, alright, bye-bye. Check out all the links in the description box down below. If they're not there, you guys can still find my social media. Alright, bye.